Hook and introduction. The fire in the tavern gutters its embers, casting shadows that writhe like specters on the stone walls. Outside, the wind moans through the lonely hills of Eriador, carrying whispers no mortal should heed. I am Eldrin, a wanderer of Middle-earth, my cloak tattered by forgotten roads, my heart scarred by tales too grim for daylight. Tonight I speak of places where courage crumbles and hope drowns, 7 corners of this world where terror weaves a web no sword can cut. Will you sit with me, stranger, and face the shadows? Or will you flee as so many have when the truth grows too heavy? Lean closer, for these are the 7 terrors of Middle-earth, and their echoes linger still. In the dawn of the First Age, when the stars were young and the world untamed, I stood on the jagged cliffs of Lammoth where the sea gnaws the earth like a starving beast. This desolate shore in Balerion's northwest was no place for the living, its air thick with a sorrow older than time. The stones underfoot were sharp as knives cutting through my boots, and the salty tang of the sea mingled with a bitter chill that seeped into my bones. Here the Dark Lord Melkor, then Morgoth, fled with his treacherous ally, the Spider Queen Ungoliant, after a theft that shook the heavens, the Silmarill's gems blazing with the light of Valinor's sacred trees. But Ungoliant's hunger was a void. No jewel could fill a ravenous maw that turned even on her master. In Lammoth's barren wastes where no bird sang and no grass dared grow, she betrayed him. Her webs, thick as iron and black as despair, pinned Morgoth to the cliffs, her jaws gaping to claim the Silmarils. His scream, raw, godlike, shattering, tore the sky and scarred the land. It was no mere cry, but a force splintering stone and shaking the sea. The cliffs trembled, and I felt my heart stutter as if the world itself would unravel. That scream woke Morgoth's Balrogs thousands of miles away in his fortress, and they surged to his aid, their whips of fire driving Ungoliant into the shadows. But the cry never left. It wove itself into the wind, a wail that chills the soul and haunts the dreams of sailors who dare the drowned coast where Lammoth once stood. I lingered there, my torch snuffed by the gale, my hands trembling as the echo curled around me like a living thing. The cliffs pulsed with it, each gust a reminder of Morgoth's terror and Ungoliant's greed. I saw a vision then, or perhaps a madness, her silhouette vast and writhing, scuttling into the dark, her eyes like dying stars. No warmth touched that place, no hope took root. Sailors speak of it now, their voices hushed, claiming storms off the sunken shore. Carry that same cry, a sound that drives men to leap into the waves, seeking silence. Lammoth sank beneath the sea in the war of wrath, its stones swallowed by the deep, but its terror lives in whispered tales, a wound in the world's heart that no tide can wash away. I stood at the edge, my cloak whipping in the wind, and felt the scream's weight press against my chest. I whispered a prayer to the Valor, though I knew they could not hear me here. Can you hear it, stranger, in the silence of your own fears? Would you stand where I stood with only the sea and the scream for company? I turned from Lammoth's cliffs with a heavy heart, my steps heavy as I journeyed southeast, chasing the shadow of Ungoliant's flight, knowing the next terror awaited. Through tangled forests and over crumbling hills I came to Nan Dungroth, a valley in Balerion's southeast where light itself seems to wither. The air was thick with a sickly sweetness like rotting fruit, and the trees leaned inward, their branches twisted like grasping hands. Ungoliant settled here after her betrayal in Lammoth, her venom seeping into the earth like a plague. Her spawn, grotesque spiders with eyes like dying stars, wove webs that strangled the moon's glow, their skittering legs a constant whisper in the gloom. The rivers ran black, their waters cursed. One sip could unravel a warrior's mind, filling it with visions of despair so vivid they clawed at their own flesh to escape. I stood at the valley's edge, my torch flickering its flame, no match for the darkness that clung like damp rot. The ground pulsed with a rhythm, not of life, but of hunger, as if the earth itself craved blood. I saw an elf, his face once radiant as starlight, stumble from the shadows. He had drunk from the river thinking it mere water. His eyes were hollow, his lips trembling as he muttered of endless webs and a mother who devoured her own. He tore at his throat, his screams echoing until the spiders answered their legs, clicking as they dragged him into the dark. I froze my breath, shallow, knowing one step could end me. Nan Dungroth was a wound in the world, its air heavy with malice, its silence broken only by the rustle of unseen legs. The webs hung like shrouds, catching the faintest light and twisting it into something foul. I glimpsed a spider, its body swollen, its eyes locking onto mine. I raised my torch, but it sputtered and the creature vanished, leaving only the echo of its hunger. The valley was alive, a predator that fed on hope. When Beleriand fell in the War of Wrath, Nan Dungroth drowned its horrors buried beneath the sea. Yet its children like Shelob, who later haunted Mirkwood, scuttled into Middle-earth shadows carrying their mother's curse. I lingered too long, my heart pounding, and felt the valley's pull, a whisper urging me to drink to surrender. I fled my torch, abandoned the spider's laughter chasing me. Would you cross such a place, stranger, knowing what lurks beneath the stones? Could you resist the river's call, or would you join the elf in madness? I ran north, the taste of venom lingering on my lips, seeking the roots of a terror older than Ungoliant's brood. Centuries passed, and I wandered to the rolling hills east of the Shire, where hobbits now sing of hearth and harvest under skies of endless blue. But beyond their fields lie the Barrow-downs, ancient tombs of kings defiled by the Witch King's sorcery in the Third Age. The mounds rose like silent sentinels, their stones worn by time but heavy with malice. The air was still too still, as if the world held its breath. When Angmar's shadow fell, evil spirits, Barrow wights, claimed these mounds, their eyes like cold stars in the fog that coiled like a serpent. One moonless night I strayed too close, my boots sinking into mud that clung like greedy hands. A fog rose thick as grief, swallowing sound and sight. It was no natural mist, but a living thing curling around my throat, whispering my name in a voice that was not my own. A Barrow wight appeared, its form skeletal, its eyes glowing with a hunger older than death. Its bony fingers brushed my cloak and my blood turned to ice. Sleep, it murmured, and my eyelids grew heavy, my limbs leaden. I stumbled, my mind fogging, but a memory of starlight, a song from my youth, broke the spell. I fled, my heart pounding, the wight's laughter echoing behind me. The downs are a trap for the unwary, their mists, a net that binds the soul. I saw a merchant's cart abandoned, its wheels sunk in mud, its owner gone without a trace. Travelers fall into trances here, lulled by hypnotic murmurs, their bodies left to rot in endless sleep. Even Frodo Baggins nearly perished, his heart snared by a white song saved only by Tom Bombadil's golden voice. The air was heavy, each breath a struggle, as if the wights stole life itself. I passed a mound, its entrance yawning like a maw, and swore I saw eyes within, watching, waiting. If you rested on those hills, stranger, would your heart resist the wights' call? Could you walk that fog and emerge whole? I left the downs behind. My breath ragged, my torch, long lost, and turned north, where terrors older than Angmar's malice awaited in the shadows of the mountains. Pause, stranger, and let these tales sink into your bones. Has Lamoth's scream chilled your soul, or does Nan Dungroth's poison haunt your dreams? Perhaps the Barrowdowns fog clings to your heart, whispering of sleep eternal. Share your thoughts below. Which of these places grips you with fear? Tell us if you dare stand where I stood, or if the shadows would drive you back, and subscribe, for our journey is far from over. The darkest corners of Middle-earth still call their secrets, waiting to unravel in the firelight. Lean closer, for the worst is yet to come. In the First Age, when Morgoth's power was a storm unchallenged, I reached Angband, his fortress beneath the volcanic peaks of Thangorodrim. The mountains loomed like blackened teeth, their summits wreathed in smoke that stung my eyes and throat. The iron gates of Angband stood taller than any tower of men, their surface pitted with scars from wars older than memory. The air was thick with sulfur, a choking haze that burned my lungs, and the ground trembled with the distant roars of beasts unborn. Within, caverns stretched deeper than nightmares, a labyrinth of despair where hope was a forgotten word. I crept to the threshold, my torch a feeble spark against the darkness. The clang of hammers echoed from below, a relentless pulse like the heartbeat of some monstrous god. Orcs and Balrogs toiled in the mines, their whips cracking over slaves whose cries were swallowed by the din. Here Morgoth bred dragons, their scales forged in fire, their breath a storm of ash that could reduce cities to cinders. I glimpsed a prisoner, his body gaunt, chained to a forge that glowed with unnatural heat. His eyes were hollow, his hands blistered, yet he worked on shaping a blade for his master's war. His scream when it came was not of pain, but of a soul broken beyond repair, a sound that haunts me still. The forges roared their light, casting shadows that danced like demons on the walls. I saw a Balrog's silhouette, its whip trailing sparks, and felt the heat of its gaze, though it did not see me. Dragons stirred in the depths, their scales scraping stone, their growls shaking the earth. Angband was a crucible of pain, its every stone steeped in torment, its air heavy with the weight of 1,000 tortured souls. I stood frozen, my torch snuffed by a gust from below, my heart pounding as if it would burst. The valor raised Angband in the war of wrath, its towers crumbled to dust, but its spawn, orc and dragons, still plagued the world, carrying the fortress's curse into the ages. I fled, my cloak singed, the prisoner's scream echoing in my ears. I stumbled through the ash-choked slopes, the mountains glare at my back. Stand at Angband's ruins, stranger, and tell me, would you face the fire that forged such horrors? Could you bear the weight of its despair? Or would you break as that prisoner did? Angband's shadow lingered a stain on my soul, driving me deeper into the earth to a place even more ancient where terror was born, in the Third Age. I came to Minas Morgul, a city on Mordor's border once fair, but now corrupted by Sauron's will. Its towers rose like bones against the sky, glowing with a venomous light, a sickly green that pulsed like a festering wound. The air was a miasma, thick with fumes that clawed at my throat, each breath a struggle against madness. The streets were silent save for the Nazgul's screeches sharp as shattered glass piercing the soul. The streams ran with poison, their waters gleaming with an oily sheen that burned the heart. This was no city but a grave, its beauty twisted into horror. I stood at the gates, my lungs burning, the light searing my eyes. An orc captain staggered past his face, contorted, driven mad by the city's curse. He clawed at his helm, muttering of eyes that never blinked, and collapsed, his body twitching as the fumes claimed him. The Nazgul watched from the towers, their presence a weight that crushed hope. I felt their gaze, a cold needle in my mind, urging me to kneel, to surrender. The air whispered lies, promises of rest, of power. But I saw the truth in the poisoned stream, where reflections showed not my face but a hollow skull. Minas Morgul was a wound that refused to heal, its malice seeping into the earth, its light a lure for the lost. I lingered, my thoughts fraying, and saw a vision. A knight once proud drinking from the stream, his scream swallowed by the city's laughter. After Sauron's defeat, Aragorn raised its walls and set its fields ablaze, yet the valley remains tainted, unfit for life. No bird flies there, no grass grows. Only the echo of the Nazgul's cry remains. I fled, my shadow trailing like a ghost, unable to linger where hope dies. Could you stand there, stranger, with the Nazgul's gaze upon you? Would you resist the city's poison, or would it claim your mind? I turned westward, my heart heavy, seeking the source of Sauron's Master Morgoth, and the terror he birthed in a place older than memory. Before Angband there was Utumno Morgoth's first stronghold, a labyrinth of pits beneath the earth's skin, hidden in the far north where light never reached. The air was stale, heavy with the scent of rust and decay, and the tunnels stretched like veins, pulsing with a malice that made my torch flicker. Here Morgoth committed his vilest sin, taking elves radiant, newly awakened by starlight, and twisting them into orcs through torture and dark sorcery. The screams of those first captives echoed through the stone, a chorus of agony that never faded. Utumno was no fortress, but a wound, a place where beauty was unmade. I stood at its broken gates, the air thick with grief, my torch casting shadows that seemed to writhe. The ground was uneven, pitted with scars where Morgoth's forges had burned. I heard a wail, faint but piercing, as if the earth itself mourned. Deeper in the tunnels narrowed their walls, slick with something that was not water. I glimpsed a chamber, its floor stained with blood, long dried where chains hung like vines. A vision came unbidden, an elf, her eyes wide with terror, her body contorted by Morgoth's magic, her scream becoming a snarl as she became something else. My heart faltered, and I stumbled, my hand grazing the wall, leaving it sticky with residue. The Valar shattered Utumno's forges in their war, slaying its guards and freeing its prisoners, but the tunnels remained untouched, snaking beneath the world. I felt their pull, a whisper urging me deeper, promising secrets no mortal should know. The darkness was alive, watching, and I knew the orcs born here were but the beginning of Utumno's curse. Its ruins are a scar, its corruption seeping into the earth's roots, feeding every evil that followed. I fled, my torch, nearly spent the whale chasing me like a hunter. If you found its depth, stranger, would you dare descend where beauty was broken? Could you face the echo of those screams, or would they unravel your soul? Utumno's tunnels stretched far, their whispers guiding me to a final fateful place where the earth itself seemed to tremble with dread. In knee-deep in the Third Age, I entered Moria, the dwarves' lost kingdom beneath the misty mountains where starlight never reached its halls. Once grand with pillars carved like trees, were now a tomb, their echoes swallowed by darkness. The air was cold, damp with the scent of stone and decay, and each step rang hollow, as if the mountain mourned its own. In its deepest mines, linked to Utumno's forgotten paths, lurk horrors. No dwarf names the Watcher in the water, its tentacles coiling in the dark, a Balrog, its flames searing the soul, and nameless things gnawing at the world's roots, older than time itself. I ventured past the gates, my torch, a frail spark, its light barely touching the walls. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the drip of unseen water, each drop a heartbeat in the void. I found a chamber, its floor littered with bones, Balin's folk slain in their ancestral home. A book lay open, its pages stained, recounting their doom. Then I heard it, a slithering wet and heavy from the pool beyond the gate. The Watcher stirred its eyes like pale moons, its grasp cold as death. I fled deeper, only to feel a heat at my back. The Balrog, its roar a furnace, its shadow vast. Gandalf's voice echoed in my mind, his fear as he spoke of the nameless things, creatures that gnaw in the abyss, unseen by even the valor. Moria was no mere mine, but a gateway to terrors older than Morgoth's reign. The air grew thin, my torch flickering as something moved below its presence, a weight that crushed hope. I saw a tunnel, its mouth yawning, and knew it led to Utumno's remnants, where no dwarf dared tread. Balin's tomb stood silent, a warning etched in stone. I fled my torch, extinguished the mountain's darkness, chasing me. Moria stands a reminder that some evils never die. Only wait. Step into its shadows, stranger, and tell me, what would you fear in its endless night? Could you face the Balrog's flame, or would the nameless things claim you? Our journey ends, stranger, but the shadows linger in the firelight. Has Lammoth's scream haunted your dreams, or does Minas Morgul's poison cling to your heart? Perhaps Moria's abyss calls to you, its nameless things whispering in the dark. Share your fears below, tell us which terror grips you most, and if you dare tread Ute and ring the bell to uncover more of Middle-earth's secrets, for its tales are as endless as the night. Until we meet again, keep the fire burning, and beware the whispers that follow you into the dark. The fire dims, and I, Eldrin, must wander on my cloak, heavy with the weight of these tales. Middle-earth is vast, its shadows deep, but its terrors are not all that define it. Yet these 7 places, Lammoth, Nan Dungroth, the Barrow-downs, Angband, Minas, Morgul, Utumno, Moria, stand as scars on its heart, reminders that even in victory, evil leaves echoes. Carry these stories, stranger, but tread lightly, for the dark is never far.